tell me, explain in your own words what the organization is about and what you're trying to do?
Okay. The organization is called the Live for Live Foundation. It's in memory of my daughter, Olivia. We're victims of domestic violence, as many people in the town may be aware of, but many still are not, which is surprising, I guess, because every year we have an event, so, we try to
get the word out.
Yeah, about it. But anyway, in the meantime, I will say quickly how it started, why it started, and what we've done and what we hope to do in the very near future. Unfortunately, my story starts February 1st, 2010. I had gotten home from work late that night. Well, after dinner time. I was a loan officer, and I was a mortgage lender and had to meet people usually after work. Anyway, so I got home. I went upstairs to change into my PJs, came downstairs, looked in the refrigerator for dinner. My husband was in the family room, and we started fighting over something we had started fighting the previous day about. Anyway, he was so angry, he got up off the couch and pushed me against the wall and started to choke me. And, seriously choke me. And, you can imagine the thoughts that go through your mind. And he let go. And in the meantime, Olivia walked in the door, senior in high school, ready to go on an internship and very excited. And I said, no, we got to get out the door. And she, no surprise to her, since considering how well her parents got along. Anyway, so I went upstairs to change out of my pajamas. She came upstairs. Her dad came upstairs with a gun. He shot and he killed Olivia. He murdered her. And she was leaning against the bureau, and I turned to go towards her, and I was shot in my right temple, where the bullet shattered my jaw and now sits forever in my right shoulder. It's a nightmare. It's my before and after life, and I must talk about it so other people are aware of the numbers. It was not physical abuse. It's about power and control, and that can be financial, where you go, who you're with, whether you're allowed to work, and if you do, whether you're allowed to see $1 out of it, all kinds of stuff. So I speak about that. My goal, my mission is to get into schools, because I was 19, and kids need to know about it.
You were 19 when you met your...
That's right.
ex-husband.
And so, and I look back on some of the people I were attracted to. If you grow up, which I think I did, in a certain household, it's what you know. So that's why I hope someday to get into the schools, although I have to say it's not easy. And I hope the town of Westford at some point will let me tell my story, whether it's this way or another. But anyway, so during that time, we had the event, the Ride for Live, Run for Live, and raised money, which we donated. And now it was more about Olivia, but now 10 years has gone by, and Olivia will always, it's all about Olivia. However, it's all about helping other victims in one shape or way or form. And we have money to give. If people need to get out of a house, we will give money for their apartment, their furniture, whatever the case may be. We will have what's called Lives Independence House, where we can help victims in an interim time where they either need to be trained for a job, or maybe they're waiting for a house to sell so that they have finances coming in. So that's my goal. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Jody. Do you have anything you want to add on to that, Mary? Or
I think Jody gave a great overview. I mean, obviously her story is horrific and impactful and important, and to keep Olivia's memory alive and to help other survivors and victims families and survivors' families. I mean, we did raise some money specifically earmarked for helping people get out of a situation. I think a lot of people in a domestic violence situation can't either don't have the finances because of control, or just don't have the money to split a household, and they stay too long. So we have a couple of initiatives. We have one where, we will pay first, last, and security. We've talked about, we haven't had anyone take us up on it yet, but something like short term at like the Marriott Suites or something, where we'll pay for them to live, so they can get out right away, or even if it's one night or 1 month, so that they can clear their head, get away from the control, get the help that they need, get some counseling, with an attorney, and get the ball rolling into a safe place.
When I was in the situation I was in, there were times that I looked at places so I could get out. My biggest fear was financial. But I know, had I gotten out, the safety, the relief, I would have gotten 2 more jobs if I had to. But I know that it would have been that first step toward just knowing the situation I was in. I will forever have the greatest regret, sadness, guilt that I did not get out of there. And yes, there were times I did go to a hotel because I was afraid. And the next day when I woke up, again, the relief that I felt. So we are here now for this purpose. It is our mission. Fortunately, we have a new president, Mary, who's also such a go-getter and has such goodness in her heart, and I am so excited that we are moving to that next step, and it's getting the word out. And people sometimes can't call us on the phone because the abusive person is that controlling that they, or again, they're afraid financially. That was my biggest fear.
Yeah, so I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and when I left my ex-husband, my sister had said, just go to a hotel, I'll pay for it, take the kids, just go there right now. And, spent the day trying to make their day as much as, as normal as possible. And then I went to the hotel, and, the person at the front desk knew, I had said my name and that my sister had made the reservation. And he said, well, what name should I put this under? And I said, could we just not, don't put it under my name. And he saw me with the kids and no luggage and immediately knew. And as it turned out later, my ex-husband did call the hotel and see if I was registered there. So, it's important that people don't have the means to leave, and we can help them clear their head and get things rolling and have that sense of relief in order to move forward and get out of a bad situation.
Right. Can you just imagine the fear for you and your children? So it's a must. It's just that's what I live for now.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, you two. All right, so jumping into the questions, my first one for you is, looking back on the past 10 years, what have been some of your proudest moments as an organization?
Oh gosh, I would say one of them is fairly recent, that we had someone that needed to get out and had fear. And so we went there, Live for Live, members of our organization went, and we helped her move every item out of her home. It was an upstairs apartment, so we had to take stuff down this little skinny staircase and get it into the U-Haul truck. And you don't realize how much stuff someone has till you go to move it. So thankfully we had a few people there. And we also had hired a police officer. Mm-hmm. So that way, because her abusive partner could have showed up anytime. Yeah. So we had a police officer there ready to help protect us in case it was needed. We were able to get her stuff in the U-Haul. We got the stuff to her new home, moved her stuff in, and then have helped her financially with rent and other forms, because just because you got in the door doesn't mean now everything's hunky-dory. And so so we've helped in a number of ways so that she can move forward.
Well, and in the past, we've consistently donated money to other organizations, and I think that we sort of have a new vision of trying to help people directly and move towards our Independence House, because ultimately we'd like to have a self-sustaining operation that helps people, better their lives and move on to better things.
Well, and we're in a situation now where it's a must. I mean, obviously donations. We've had someone in particular that has given us money from an organization, and a lot of money from that one person, money geared towards education and money specifically for Lives Independence House. And I will forever be grateful to this generous generous group of people. And so that's one thing. Plus,
well, education is important. We do have money earmarked for that, and we've been trying. We met with Westford Academy, and we've explored some options as to the best way to educate. I think that it's interesting at what age, and then how do you speak to younger kids versus high school kids? And, a lot of times with high school kids, it's too late, or they already have seen it, or it was too late for them to recognize it. And so we'd like to get in as early as possible to just make people aware. I mean, personally, I didn't know anyone that had any abuse that I knew of growing up or in my adult life before my incident. I think, for me too, personally, I was very vocal about what happened to me. And because, most abusers don't like you to shine the light on what they're doing. And so the more that you speak up about it and the more that, your friends, I mean, my mother said to me, when's enough enough? And I thought, ooh, wow, all right, would I do that for someone else? I would today. Would I have done it before? I wouldn't have had any inkling of what was going on or how to help. So if you're in that situation or someone is, reach out to us, because we can help.
Well, plus it is important. Even I wonder, had I heard someone speak when I was in high school, even I would have said, "Oh, so what's going on? Isn't you don't know if you've grown up in a certain household, you think that's normal. So maybe had I heard someone speak either in my younger years or high school, maybe then some of the things my then boyfriend did, I would have known is not okay. It's abusive. So it's never too late to talk to people, adults, because I've spoken to adults and they come to me with great sadness about their own children. So it is so common in our world, but it's not a happy subject people want to talk about. Another thing I want to mention is that another thing that is a must is getting grant money for Lives Independence House. Yes, we have raised a fairly good amount of money, but it's not going to be enough to buy, to purchase property. So I'm continually looking for ways to find grant money, and I'm talking,
and partner on a bigger scale.
Bigger scale, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. One other thing too, abuse keeps changing or evolving. With this day and age of technology, there's technological abuse, which was something I hadn't really thought about until a friend of mine had said that there were cameras in her house and that her partner had told her that there was no audio, but there was, and she'd listened to every phone call that she made during the day. And, that was something that I hadn't considered. And we've seen other stories in the news where people put trackers on cars and, stuff like that did not end well for the victim. So just something else to be aware of, that something that you might think is, love, or, I want to know where you are, honey, is not.
Exactly.
It's not always in the bad way, in the abusive way, but it's not always in the good way either.
Well, think about different ages. I know as a young person, the controlling abusive partner wants to know, where are you? Who are you with? What are you wearing? Where are you going? What time are you going to be back? call me when you do. And you may not realize, you may think, this guy's crazy about me. He needs to know, he's asking me all these questions. He's not, this is not okay. It's not healthy. So this is why I feel it's so important to speak, particularly, to high school, junior high, and eventually even younger, because, it's let's,
and to add to that, that sort of Jekyll and Hyde, mean to you, nice to everyone if you're in front of someone else, then nice to you, or would shovel your neighbor's steps, but won't help you carry groceries in or do the dishes. Like, there's other things that aren't necessarily, physical abuse. There's emotional, there's psychological, and all those things are wrapped up.
Yeah,
together.
Those are all really good points. Yeah. Sorry. And then moving on to my next question, though. Do you have any advice for people who want to help those in domestic violence situations or who are looking to start similar organizations as you have?
Do we have advice for someone wanting to start an organization? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Honestly, my first reaction is to combine with Live for Live.
Right.
Number
don't
one.
Don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have
better.
to.
Right.
But the other thing too is that if you're thinking about starting your own, it means that you've gone through some kind of trauma.
Right.
And that it's near and dear to your heart. So we understand that. And we certainly like to work together with other organizations and would never not work towards the common goal of domestic violence and making it, awareness and stomping it out.
Also,
possible.
to become a member of the Live for Live Foundation, we are continually looking at different people. People talk about joining Live for Live, but we have to look at that and say, does it, is it going to make sense? Is this what they really want to do? But also, members of our group, a lot of them are victims of abuse, but we have currently a gentleman that's interested in helping us who is not a victim of abuse, who's in a very healthy relationship. But everybody has their certain place that their strengths are. So, that's always a plus if someone wants to be part of Live for Live. That's really something great. And maybe they don't want to be part of Live for Live, but maybe they'd like to help with our Ride for Live, Run for Live that's happening this summer, July 24th, and we're finally doing it live again. So maybe you don't want to be on the board of directors, however, volunteers for various things, and right now, the event is important. So anyone that wants to, who wants to talk about a situation they're in, who wants to, look at being a volunteer or a board member, we're our website is called liveforlive.org.
Nice. Actually, speaking of Run for Live, I know that with COVID, you had to do it virtually last year. I was wondering, what are some of the obstacles that you've had to face during COVID and how you overcame them?
Well, we did it virtual the past 2 years, and the first year that we did it was really successful. I mean, we had a lot of fun with it. We were happy to have something to do and to keep it alive. That was the 10-year, and we were really concerned, that we weren't going to be able to do anything special because of COVID, and we ended up doing it virtually and came up with Titan 10 for kids. So it was 10 days of activities to keep kids busy. We were thinking about the mothers that, when everybody locked down with school and everything at home, and that if we could get them out and doing something, and so we released, the next day's activities, only one day at a time, so that they had something to look forward to, and had them posted on our Facebook page, and they won prizes and stuff. So it was really successful. Last year, I think things were kind of hybrid-y. So, some things were back in person and we weren't. So it wasn't, I think the need there wasn't as great as it was the first, the year before. But no, we have great people that support us and have year over year over year, all these years. And we appreciate them so much and what they're willing to do, and step up whenever we need them to.
That's great. And then, sorry, I'm just looking at my questions. What are some things that you have learned by running this organization? What's some important lessons that you've taken away from this experience?
So I've only been involved for 4 years, maybe. And I started out as a board member and doing some of the social media. And then I've been vice president for over a year. And now newly, we haven't quite made it official, the president. But I think a charitable organization is much harder to run than one would think. There are a lot of personalities and people and moving parts. And I think it's hard to take over something and try to do it a little bit differently or improve it. Not everyone's willing to move forward with you if they have a little bit different vision. There's so much to filing correctly with the state or your taxes or, keeping track of all the different funds and make sure that they're used for what, people intended or what they were raised for. Just the administrative bookkeeping, stuff like that. It's a full-time job, and we're a strictly volunteer organization, so you really have to have people that are committed. And I have another job, but I could certainly do this full time.
Yeah, that's for
right,
sure.
Jody?
Absolutely. And I'm quite grateful to Mary as well as other board members for the time they're spending. It's a must. It's huge, and I will forever be grateful to you, Mary.
Oh.
No,
All right, and then my final question is, what goals do you have, or where do you envision yourself to be as an organization in the next 10 years? I know it's a very long period of time, but
well,
it goes by
yeah.
fast.
We'll be in wheelchairs. No, no. I think that all kidding aside, we really want to. We've talked about a junior ambassador program, that it's never too young to start volunteering, and certainly never too young to start volunteering with our organization. And we would love to grow sort of a next generation. And bring more younger people in so that it does live on.
Yeah.
So that's really important and something that we've talked about a lot, but haven't really executed as well as we'd like. But there's a lot to do.
Some things don't happen overnight.
Right, exactly.
But we've come a long way in 10 years, and hope. I definitely want to see the next 10 years that we have the well-run, helpful independence house for victims, so they can become independent and become survivors of such a horrific situation. And hopefully they're out before what happens does not happen to them what happened to me. Had I gotten out sooner, obviously, it's not obviously, because who knows, he may have come after me. You just don't know. And so you get out before while you can. And I admire Mary for doing that.
All right, thank you so much. That's all the questions I have. But if you think there's anything else that I missed or you would like to add, this is the time.
Do you have anything you'd like to add, Jody? Well,
again, if you want to join our event, July 24th, it's a 5K run. I'm adding a 10K run this year, a 23-mile bike ride that's absolutely beautiful, goes through Concord and Carlisle, and then a 50-mile bike ride, which, you won't see me on the 50-mile bike ride, but there are people that really, it goes through Groton and some other towns that I don't know, and but a lot of people want to do that. It's a great day for it, and if you did the Pan Mass, 50's just a fun day.
I do have something to add. I've gotten to know Jody over the past few years, and I just can't say enough about her incredible strength. And I'm gonna cry.
Well, me too.
But no, and to get up every day, is incredible. The other thing is to see her with the relationships and the lives that she's touched, the outpouring of support from, the town, from the police, from anyone that she's asked, can you help? They do immediately. So it says a lot to what kind of person she is.
Mary, thank you.
You're welcome.
Really.
I agree. Hearing your story and everything, I really do.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for some really important questions. I really... Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here and taking the time out of your day to do this interview. Yeah, I really enjoyed talking with you both and listening. So, yeah, thank you.
Great.
All right.
Thanks.